Ever wondered how young drivers can break into the elite world of Formula One? Well, there's already a path through youth categories and special tests. But now, an exciting new plan could be in the works, a dedicated sprint race for these rising stars. Imagine the thrill and potential shakeup this could bring to the sport. So, let's dive into this video today to explore what this groundbreaking idea means for the future of F1. The sprint is a short and thrilling race that adds extra excitement for fans both at the circuit and watching worldwide. This 100-kilometer race, about one-third of a full Grand Prix distance, lasts around 30 minutes and has no mandatory pit stops, highlighting driver skill. 8 points are awarded to the winner to promote overtaking and on-track action, with the top 8 drivers earning World Championship points. A new proposal for a standalone Formula One sprint race specifically for young drivers is under discussion. This mini-event would take place after the season finale and feature practice, qualifying, and a sprint race. It aims to supplement the post-season Abu Dhabi test, where teams run 2 cars, one dedicated to giving young drivers track time. Currently, the young driver test is one of the few chances for young talents to gain experience in current F1 cars. Another opportunity comes from the rule requiring teams to run a non-race driver, one who has not participated in more than 2 F1 races, at least once per season in each car. This proposal has led to broader discussions about creating more opportunities for young drivers. At the most recent F1 Commission meeting, the idea of wildcard entries for young drivers was suggested. However, this was quickly dismissed due to F1's complex regulations, which would require a wildcard to replace an existing driver, a non-starter. Nevertheless, the conversation continued, and a post-season standalone race for young drivers received tentative support from all stakeholders in principle. However, various factors need to be addressed before this can be implemented. Key considerations include drafting suitable regulations, especially since a typical F1 season is governed by a budget cap and engine component limitations. Safety requirements for a grid full of young drivers racing F1 cars for the first time must also be considered. Additionally, logistical elements must be worked out, such as ensuring a sufficient team presence and arranging television and media coverage. The idea is still in its early stages. Still, if these issues can be resolved, a post-season sprint race could become a valuable opportunity for emerging talents to gain competitive experience and visibility in Formula One. There is also the significant matter of determining which drivers could take part. While having a super license or being eligible for one may not be required, there is concern that teams could sell seats to drivers without a sensible threshold. An international A license with a certain number of super license points might be sufficient, creating an acceptable pool of drivers. Given how much still needs to be worked out, there is no fixed timeline for realizing this idea. Theoretically, the end of 2024 could be achievable, but it would be a significant logistical challenge. Introducing the race by the end of 2025 would give all parties more time to scrutinize the proposal and discuss the details. Additionally, as F1 adopts new technical rules in 2026, key components will not be carried over, further supporting the 2025 timeline. This approach would ensure that the new race format is well prepared and integrates smoothly with the existing F1 framework, providing a valuable opportunity for young drivers to showcase their talents on a major stage. Who could be eligible? The most common young driver criteria is someone who has not started more than 2 Grand Prix. While it would mostly comprise Formula 2 and Formula 3 drivers past and present, given their dominance in F1 teams' junior driver programs, many other drivers from series such as IndyCar and Super Formula have also been in contention for F1 opportunities. Applying this to a hypothetical 2024 edition of the post-season event, the pool of drivers could be diverse and impressive. Red Bull could field talents like Isaac Hadjar, Arvid Lindblad, and Ayumu Iwasa, showcasing the depth of their development program. Mercedes might present Kimi Antonelli and Frederick Vesti, who have shown great promise. Ferrari could bring in Ollie Behrman, Robert Schwartzman, and Dino Beganovic, each a formidable contender in junior categories. McLaren's potential lineup might include Pato O'Ward, Gabriel Bortoleto, and Ryo Hirakawa, blending talent from different racing backgrounds. Aston Martin could feature Felipe Drugovich and Jack Crawford, adding to the competitive mix. Alpine's Jack Doohan, Victor Martins, and Kush Maini would add further depth to the grid. Williams could showcase Franco Colapinto, Zach O'Sullivan, and Luke Browning, while Sauber might present Theo Pourchaire and Zane Maloney. Haas could field Pietro Fittipaldi, a driver with valuable experience. Additionally, drivers like Paul Aron, Alex Palou, and Colton Herta from other series could make the event even more exciting. Including such a diverse and talented pool of young drivers would provide them with valuable exposure and add a new layer of excitement for fans and teams alike. This event could be a crucial stepping stone for future F1 stars, offering them a unique opportunity to prove their mettle in a highly competitive environment. F1 Sprint Rules. Any F1 event focuses on having the fastest car on track, but there are notable differences between sprint sessions and a regular race. Instead of the standard 305 km length Grand Prix, the F1 Sprint is a 100 km dash of intense racing action. Only the top 8 finishers score points, with 8 points for P1, 7 points for P2, and so on down to P8, who scores 1 point. There is no rule mandating using 2 tyre compounds, so drivers are not forced into a pit stop during a dry race. This single-tyre strategy makes the sprint all about being the fastest driver to the flag, with on-track overtakes being the primary way to progress, though pit stops and tyre changes are not prohibited. Qualifying for the sprint is faster paced than its Grand Prix equivalent, with just 12 minutes to break out of SQ1, 10 minutes to get out of SQ2, and the final top 10 session only 8 minutes. Similar to Grand Prix qualifying, the bottom 5 drivers in the first 2 sessions are eliminated until only 10 remain. 6 sprint races for 2024. In the 2024 F1 season, sprint events will occur in 6 rounds. After a 4-year absence, the Chinese GP at the Shanghai International Circuit will host its first sprint weekend. Florida will also see sprint action for the first time since the Miami GP debuted in 2022, forming the only back-to-back sprint rounds this year. The Austrian GP at the Red Bull Ring will be the sole European venue featuring a sprint event 2024, hosting its 3rd sprint in 3 years. A second American sprint round comes at COTA for the United States GP in October, following Austin's first taste in 2023. Sprint will return to Brazil for the São Paulo GP, which hosts its 4th consecutive sprint season. The final sprint 2024 will be at the Qatar GP, a year after Lusail's sprint decided the 2023 World Drivers' Championship. 2024 F1 sprint changes. The 2024 season will see changes to the sprint schedule, now positioned on Friday and Saturday instead of the self-contained Saturday format of 2023. Sprint qualifying will replace the usual FP2 session, and the sprint itself will occur when FP3 typically occurs. The sprint qualifying session is no longer called Sprint Shootout as it was last year. It reverts to the title of Sprint Qualifying. With the new schedule, there will be 2 Parc Fermé periods, one between sprint qualifying and the sprint, and another between Grand Prix qualifying and the Grand Prix. This allows any data gathered during the short-form race to impact setup changes ahead of Grand Prix qualifying, optimizing the chances of securing a high starting position for Sunday's Grand Prix. Does the sprint have an impact on Sunday's Grand Prix? The sprint race finishing order doesn't determine the grid for Sunday's main event, but can still impact the race. If a driver picks up a grid penalty late on, or if the team needs to make major repairs after a crash, the driver must start Sunday's race from the pit lane. This scenario occurred with Sergio Perez in Qatar. The main effect is on strategy and setups, as drivers and teams only have Friday practice to understand the circuit and work out the weekend setup and tyre strategy. Much of this work falls to the reserve driver back in the simulator. While the sprint format does not directly affect the grid for the main race, it influences overall race preparation. Teams have limited time to adjust to the track conditions, making every practice session crucial. This compressed schedule puts additional pressure on the reserve drivers, who spend extensive hours in the simulator, providing valuable feedback to the team. The strategic decisions made during these practice sessions can make or break the team's performance over the weekend. In terms of performance, Max Verstappen has dominated sprint races just as he has in the F1 World Championship over the past few seasons. He has won 7 of the 12 sprint races held to date. Other winners include Valtteri Bottas with 2 victories, and George Russell, Sergio Perez, and Oscar Piastri, each with 1 win. So, what do you think of the young drivers' spring race shaking up the entire Formula One world? Comment below and subscribe for more.